is Allison Fitzpatrick of War Coverage TV, presenting the IA Drang, the War of No End.
I'm Jason Jennings.
Thank you for the introduction, Jason Jennings. This is Kyle Codsworth out in the jungles of Vietnam. We've had quite a rough day today, and I'm looking forward to sharing my experiences with you. Alright, well, on this fading light, I'm afraid we're going to have to bring some brighter ones here. I really hope that we don't come upon any Vietnamese soldiers looking from the north, of course. The southern ones are all right. Quite the opposite of how it is in North America, really. But okay, here, a little more light, I should hope. Perhaps we can increase it. But yes, there we go. All right, well, now I will present to you today. All right, now as we speak here, the fighting in Vietnam is ramping up, even well past darkness, and has been doing so for the past few years, actually. But however, thanks to new technologies, we can bring you this fine broadcast all the way directly to the U.S. viewers without any misinformation or any bias. We have direct ability to converse with you. Sorry that cut out there. We had a little surprise attack. We were just surrounded by a few dozen Vietnamese, it's northern, of course, Vietnamese soldiers, but I believe we've conquered them. But there were a couple gunfire shots. I saw a few soldiers fall. Move away here, and it wasn't the prettiest sight I'd ever seen. Earlier today, we received some information about the battle and had a chance to venture out into the field itself. The Communist North has been building up pressure to attack the South, and the South, who we back, was pushed into a corner of the Vietnam conflict. Was escalating into a full-blown battle. The battle began on November 14th when the U.S. military launched an attack on the group of Viet Cong soldiers. Sadly, it has not been going well since then. And what was originally expected to be an overwhelming victory has been quite the opposite, where Lieutenant Colonel Harold G. Moore found much opposition than reconnaissance had previously anticipated. As the troops hit the ground at 10:48, bloodshed was immediate. This is happening today, by the way. This is not any unfathomable recreation. This is simply what happened. Nothing more, nothing less. Waves of support. Ooh, waves of supports could only arrive every 30 or so minutes. And at each arrival of a new one, the previous one was wiped out. And even though our troops were supported by strong artillery and helicopters, we were massively outnumbered. Reports tonight estimate that there were about 1,500 U.S. casualties and about 4,500 on the Viet Cong side. We can only pray that, well, our numbers stay the same and that theirs will continue to increase, but it's starting to come to a point where there's not much of a point, really, to this all. It's ending up more like just a endless battle. The war of no end, essentially. And when we touched down itself, it was bad. Upon landing at battle, I was immediately witness to the murder of a small squad in an ambush about 50 meters to the south of us. The group I was with quickly fired back, but for many of them it was too late. We had some medics that managed to bring about a third of them back, but even those who survived that trip didn't quite make it past the disease and corruption, or not really corruption, but I suppose it is, actually, if you think about it. What are we fighting against? This idea that the communist North is really going to kill all capitalism in the world? That we should just believe all these things that the capitalists are telling us? I'm unsure what to think. And later in the day, not to get sidetracked too much, but there was no end to the death, really. It ended up becoming a symphony of bombs, of napalm, and just a smattering of bodies hitting the ground at each blow. It became hard to tell who was truly on whose side and who was not. It's almost as though no one's on anyone's side. They're just all fighting for nothing, truly. But we shall see. And now as this light fades, I thank you, Jason Jennings, for this opportunity for me to speak. I hope that it's been as fine of a day over there as it has been here. Hopefully it's been far better, in fact. But this is Kyle Codsworth signing out.
Yeah.
From what was expected to be an undeniable victory, the U.S. had suffered extreme casualties. We were far underprepared and we were not up to this task. The enemy has larger number than we expected, and our troops have to pay for it.
This is Jason Jennings, and you just tuned in to War Coverage TV.